has her signature right on the front. She was really proud of this liquid, really proud. It took her years to develop. So she actually signed in front of the bottle to say, I've made this, I'm very proud of it. So you guys hopefully should all have a glass of this in front of you now. I'd love you to pick up that glass and give it a quick smell. So you might notice the colour is fairly similar. The aroma is a little bit different though, I think. For me, I still get a lot of that beautiful fruitiness, but there's a little bit of spice, a touch of tannins, a little hint of oak. For me, I also get a little bit of nuttiness coming through, like almonds and Brazil nuts, that kind of little subtle nuttiness coming through. Do you guys agree? Or do you think I'm crazy? Well, gotta be pretty responsible. Have a taste, and when you taste it, a lot of those aromas I described should come through as well. So give it a taste now. And when you taste it, it's quite good to move it around your mouth. Don't just swallow it straight back. Move it around, let it coat your palate. You've got taste buds all over your mouth. Let them all access the flavors, and then swallow it. See what you think. This one, again, you get a little bit more, I would say, of the dryness just to the side of the palate, but then that lovely caramel toffee sweetness comes through. So it actually kind of changes in the mouth. And again, I think that's testament to the complexity and depth of character with this liquid. What do you guys think? Do you like this one?
Yeah.
I think it's beautiful. I think Maureen did herself very proud when she graded this one. Okay, so that is one of our single malts, one of our best-selling single malts, which I absolutely adore. But we do so much more at Diageo than just single malt scotches. Ultimately, we're a blending company. We own 28 single malt distilleries. Okay, 28, by far more than any other company in the industry. And the reason we own them is for two reasons. One is to make great single malts, of course. But two is because we also own some of the best-selling blended scotches in the world. Johnnie Walker being one of them. And to make a great blended Scotch whisky, you need a range of single malt Scotch whiskies and single grain whiskies. That's why we have so many single malt distilleries, because it gives us that huge diversity of flavour that I mentioned earlier. And a good blend will bring together all of those flavour points from all over Scotland. So it'll bring together some of the light, delicate notes from the lowlands, some of those richer, more elegant, fruity notes from Speyside, some of the quite interesting, quite unusual notes from the Highlands, and of course, the West Coast and Islay, those smokiness. A good blend will bring them all together in perfect harmony. The Johnnie Walker, I think, is a very good blend and does that very, very well. The Walker story is something that, again, as an industry, we're very proud of. Johnnie Walker, or John Walker, I should say, set up the Walker's business back in 1820. He was only 15 years old at the time. Think back, guys, what were you doing when you were 15 years old? Don't tell me that. Probably nothing as impressive as setting up a global Scotch brand. I certainly was not, okay? I know I wasn't doing that at 50. I was playing on a BMX probably. He set up a global Scotch whisky brand. He began very small, very humble beginnings. He started in a small grocery store. He actually started blending teas to create complex flavours he could replicate time and time again for consistency. And eventually started playing around with Scotch whiskies and blending them and making something that he could be very proud of. Proud enough to put his name on it, John Walker and Sons. He wasn't just making a great liquid, he was making a great liquid which was consistent time and time again. Back then, single malts would vary from one week to the next. Sometimes it'd be amazing, sometimes terrible. John Walker wanted to create something that consistently tasted the same and tasted great. And he created his blended scotches based on that ethos. The business grew. His sons took over and their grandsons took over. And it grew and grew. And as I mentioned earlier, you now find Johnnie Walker in pretty much every country in the world. I'll be very disappointed the day I go to a country and don't find it. It hasn't happened yet. Okay? So the first one of these two expressions of Johnnie Walker we're going to look at is Johnnie Walker Black Label. And that is our 12-year-old blended Scotch whisky. And something I should clarify, a lot of people think that when they see a Scotch whisky with a number on the bottle, like 12 years old, a lot of people think that's the average age of the contents, or maybe everything in the bottle is 12 years old. That's not the case. Under Scottish law, if you're going to put an age on a bottle of Scotch, that is the age of the youngest ingredient in the mixture. Okay? So we're using many, many whiskies to make Johnnie Walker Black Label. The youngest one of them is 12 years old. And that's the rule that we have to abide by in Scotland. And that applies to single malts as it does grain whiskies. So similarly, Singleton 12-year-old, all from one distillery, yes? But there could be Singleton 13 or 14 in there as well. The youngest part is what you see on the label. Now when you're tasting Johnnie Walker is really a blend of Scotch that is highly admired across the industry. It's been described by some of the greatest whiskey writers in some beautiful terms over the years. One whiskey writer described it as the Everest of Scotch whiskies. Another described it as the Rolls Royce of blended Scotch. One of my favourites was a chap called Jim Murray. He described Johnnie Walker Black Label as Michelangelo's David of blended Scotch. Now these are pretty lofty accolades, I think. That's some pretty high praise from some of the most renowned critics in the world. So we're very, very proud of that. Whenever I speak to our master blender for Johnnie Walker, he talks about Black Label as being his base. This is his centre that he always goes to. When he's looking to develop new expressions, this is where he begins, with Black Label. Because he sees it as being at the epicenter, at the core of Johnnie Walker, and at the core of great blending. It's something he's very proud of. He's a lovely guy. His name is Jim Beveridge. And I kid you not, that is his real name, okay? Jim Beveridge. He's our master blender for Johnnie Walker. He's been doing it for, I think, 34, 35 years now. The guy's an absolute genius. He's a scientist, of course, but he's also, I think, an artist as well. The guy is amazing. So Johnnie Walker Black Label is something he is incredibly proud of. It is not a blend he created, but it's a blend that he is massively proud to replicate year upon year and maintain that beautiful flavour and consistency. So you guys should all have a glass of that in front of you by now. So you can pick up the Johnnie Walker Black Label. Give it a smell. And think about what I talked about. Think about the diversity of flavour all coming together. I sometimes describe Johnnie Walker Black Label as Scotland in a glass. You have flavours from every corner of Scotland, every style, coming together and working in beautiful harmony. It's actually a very approachable Scotch. It's great on the rocks. I quite enjoy it with a little bit of ginger ale. There's no right or wrong way to enjoy your Scotch whiskies. Try it with some soda and lots of ice. Try it with some ginger ale. You might be surprised. It's a beautiful style of drink. We have, as I say, all four corners of Scotland working in perfect harmony to create something which I think is greater than some of its parts. If you think of single malts and blended Scotches, if you think of a violin concerto or a solo violinist versus a concerto or a symphony orchestra, one isn't better than the other. They're just different styles. So with a single malt, you really have one flavour from one specific place, and that's beautiful. It's great to do that. But to have all of these flavours coming together and working in harmony, I think is also a really beautiful thing. Give it a smell. You'll pick up on some of the things I mentioned. You'll definitely get that fruitiness and richness. You should get that signature smoke. The Walker range is renowned for having that smoky element. I discovered today, actually, apparently Filipinos quite enjoy a little bit of smokiness to their food, yeah? So, yeah, it's awesome, I think. Very cool. So, I imagine you guys will quite enjoy this flavour. That lovely smokiness, it just shines through. It's one of the core flavours of Johnnie Walker. It's what we're known for. It's what we do and what we do well. Give it a taste. And when you taste it, it's beautiful. It's got richness, it's got a subtle intensity, it's got that beautiful smoke on the sides of the palate, and it's got a really lovely lingering aftertaste. This one does hang around for a little bit of time. I don't think that's a bad thing though, I think that's a beautiful thing. It's a reminder of what you just enjoyed. I would ask you to take a sip of water now, because the last whiskey we're going to look at is Johnnie Walker Gold Label Reserve. Okay? And this is something that we launched relatively recently, certainly in the past few years. And Johnnie Walker Gold Label Reserve is something which Jim Beveridge got very excited about creating. Because one thing that Jim loves to do